Hello friends, hope you are doing well. Welcome back to Tech Server Global. This is the another video on AWS series, and today the topic is Elastic Load Balancer. So up to now we have completed introduction, IAM, VPC, EC2. Now the next topic is Elastic Load Balancer. So basically, load balancer is designed in such a way that is used to distribute the workload to multiple resources to regularize the web transactions as well as availability of the servers. So a load balancer distributed workloads across the multiple resources such as virtual server as well as the instances. Using load balancer increase the availability and the fault tolerance of your application. For example, during festival season or sales season, there is some expected hike on the traffic. So to manage such traffic in a proper way, we use load balancer, elastic load balancer. So AWS also having a dedicated service called elastic load balancer. So ELB help to bring a transparent and increase the availability by allowing the additional and removal of multiple EC2 instance across one or more availability zone without disturbing the overall workflow. So, for example, during the festival season, e-commerce platform is having numerous number of users, and so to tackle to such kind of traffic, unexpected traffic, or else some expected traffic, they use such technologies. So overall, the workflow of the application or system is not disturbed, and new customer and new user also get the same benefit as the existing ones. For that reason we use ELB. So as I mentioned, the some use cases of ELB. This is some benefits of ELB. It distributed the system that is fault tolerant and actively monitored, abstract about the complexity managing and maintaining and scaling the load balancer, can also serve as the first line defense against the attack on network, offer an integration with auto scaling which ensured enough backend capacity available to meet varying traffic levels. So also we can integrate load balancer with auto scaling. So as far as number of users has increased, though we required a backend total number of machines as well, so we can easily integrate it with auto scaling, which is again a service of the AWS. There are basically three type of load balancer, that application load balancer, network load balancer, and classic load balancer. But application load balancer and network load balancer are currently being popular and available over the AWS infrastructure. So application load balancer make routing decisions. Application layer such as HTTP and HTTPS support a path-based routing, can route request one or more port number each container instance in your cluster. So application load balancer basically deal with HTTP and HTTPS, which is called ATN 443 port number. Also it support the path-based routing, and also it support one or more custom port. For example, if you have 3000 port or 9000 port or 8080 port, some custom port for the different application servers like Tomcat, Node server, or we can say any custom port number for application. So it support that particular custom port as well. Second one is network load balancer. Network load balancer makes routing decisions at transport layer. Generally, we know that transport layer having TCP SSL SSL port protocol. So it can handle the millions of requests per second, and after the load balancer receives the connection, it selected the target from the target group, and default rule by using flow, it distributed traffic to the destination machine. Here this is the diagram which contains the how it works. So if you talk about the elastic load balancer, elastic end user is trying to access elastic load balancer URL, and it distributed the traffic across the multiple instance. And also here you can see it is a part of auto scaling. So as far as if three nodes are being totally used, then new instance will be automatically introduced. So new request has been served from the auto scaling, and if the traffic goes down, again that additional instance will be terminated automatically. Also SSL also been terminated at elastic load balancer. For example, if we serve a request from https some abc.com, then SSL has been terminated from the elastic load balancer. Also we can use Amazon SSL. Also we can use any third-party SSL as well. Also in backend we can use HTTP port number. That means if any user is trying to access called https abc.com, but as a backend they required only port 80 for EC2 instance. So 443 will automatically convert it to port 443 automatically converted to port 80 request. So this is the again a terminology of, or we can say the feature of elastic load balancer, where we can just terminate the SSL from the elastic load balancer. Application load balancer. So it is a load balancer. It contains a rule and the listener. So whatever, for example, if rule is to transfer this request to port number 80, that rule is defined as transfer the request to port number 80. So listener is 80 and rule is transfer the request. So whenever the request comes to that particular listener, it's automatically redirected to target. If for example one of the target is not working well, then all the requests being taken care by single targeted machine. Similar you can attach multiple rules with multiple target groups and multiple target. Second one is network load balancer. So here you can see the this is computed and its internal AWS NLB port number 443 via VPN internet connected to on-premise machine. So let me navigate to AWS console and we just conclude the practical part. So in this scenario, I'm going to create two instances, and each instance contain Nginx with having separate web page, web server 1, web server 2. So using that we can create a load balancer, and how network load balancer will distribute traffic to another web server. Also will shut down or stop the instance or stop the service on one machine, and then we can see how it works. So let me create two machines. There are total two numbers machines required. Let me name as a web Ubuntu. Let me validate key is there or not. Ubuntu key is there. And I am using the existing security group with having port 80 and 22. So as we set up the web server on port 80, so it required to have port 80 on external traffic. and I'm creating the total two number of user instances. So let me connect one by one, and I'm just first rename this instance with web1. Okay, now taking the SSH off. Still it's been pending, running now. So let me set up web1 and then web2. Let me install first apt update. Let me install Nginx. Now it's running. Now just change the let me change welcome to web server 1. Let me try to browse it, web server 1. Welcome to web server 1. Now same I'm performing on web 2 as well. So I'm I'm configure webroot on the and Nginx on web server 2. apt install. Let me change in default web page. Welcome to web server 2. Okay, let me just browse this web. So you might be thought that why I use two different web servers. So in original scenario, we have common source code. So from any server, if it is responding, then we have the same output. But to validate whether it's response from web server 1 or web server 2, I have identify the web server home page on with server name. So I can have the idea whether the response is from web server 1 or web server 2. So now my instance has been created. Now I am just navigate to load balancer. So I am going to create a load balancer. Here you can see there are three options: application, network and gateway. So I am going to use application as because my home page are on HTTP. So let me name the load balancer. I said test ELB, elastic load balancer. There are two options, internal and internet facing. Both the web servers are from internet, so also I need to access from external, so I going to use internet. IPv4 VPC. Okay, now mapping. Where my both the instance being situated, is it under which availability zone? So I need to select that one. As I can see, my both the instance are under 1D, so I need to select 1D. Also it compulsory required at least two availability zone, so I'm just selecting 1A, whether my both the instances are in 1D, but eventually you can select your instances on multiple availability zone. So in your scenario, whenever you perform, you can set up a instance in multiple availability zone. So you need to select that one. Select the security group for this application load balancer. So I'm using the same which I attach to my both the server. So here you can see this is the application load balancer security group. So whenever this request external comes from external, the security group will manage that is it port number 80443 is allowed, then it navigate to the external the end instance. Now here you can see the rules or routing. Then I can use HTTP or HTTPS because I use application load balancer. So I'm using port 80 because my both the application is running on port 80. Forward it to. So now I need to create a target group where my both the instance being group and identify with the common instance group. So I need to create a target group. So basically under target group I need to select the instances. Target group, let's say test TGT, and my port number will be port 80. VPC, I am using the default VPC, so I didn't require any change. But if you have a custom, you can. Also, I'm defined the HTTP 1 protocol number. You can also use HTTP 2 or gRPC. Health status. As I mentioned earlier, we can also have the route-based traffic as well. If such slash path is not being identified, or let's say some index page, here we can see both having this common HTML page. So I am putting this as my health check. If this file being renamed or deleted, then also my instance will consider as unhealthy. So whatever the path you put on here, also you can put slash, that means it should be working with slash notation. Whether you put any file or you can put only slash. Now maybe advanced health. So how this health status will work, how your instance being considered as a healthy state. If the number of consecutive health checks succeed before consider unhealthy target, means it took 5 times validation before consider to unhealthy. Unhealthy, if it consider 2 times fail, then it consider unhealthy. This is for healthy, this is for unhealthy threshold. What is a timeout? So timeout will take 5 seconds. That amount of time in second during no response means it will wait for 5 seconds for each request. Interval, an approximate amount of health between the individual target. Then it is 30 seconds. And source code, success code is 200. Sometimes it having the 301 or 302, because some of the application having 301 auto redirection or some 302 manual redirection. Then also we need to consider these. So somehow sometime what happen, your application behavior is having 302, it required, if you provide a 200 status code, then it's not working as expectation. Tag, you can add a tag name or anything. So both the instances are being available. Let me select. On port number 80, I am adding as a and create target group. So my target group is created and both are under unused. So let me refresh it and select it. You can add multiple listener as well. If you have ATN 443, if you have ATN some 800 multiple port number, then you can. You can also define a multiple listener with multiple targeted group. Let me create load balancer. So when you create the load balancer, automatically one DNS name will be generated. So using that DNS name record, you can have the actual response on your application. And it took some time because first it tried to validate both the machines. 2 instances are being initial. Once it's validated, then it create the DNS record. It should propagate, and then we can use the load balancer. Meantime, I am opening my DNS record as well. Let me validate, it is still provisioning, and our tools are still under initials. Manage DNS. So this is the DNS name. Let me create one CNAME record. Still our record is not being successfully created, but still we can create a CNAME record. Let me delete this one. Add a new record. I'm going to choose CNAME. Then for example, my web test web test dot tag server global dot shop, and I'm putting value of Amazon custom, and I'm going to use 600. So I have add one cname record web test dot tag server global dot shop. So let me validate in DNS checker. Meantime, so here you can see my both the instances are able to listen the valid configuration on port number 80. So both the instances are under healthy state. If you find some error or unhealthy, then you need to validate the error. You need to deregister the component and register again until it shows the healthy state. Then and then you can have proper load balancer configuration. Also here you can see my DNS record also been created with load balancer. So let me validate the DNS checker web test dot tag server global dot shop. Let me check with a record. There is no a record, it's a cname record. Let me try to browse this directly. Here you can see the response is from web server 2. So web test. Still this propagation is not working. Dot tag server global dot. Yes. So here you have two options. Either you can use this DNS entry of the ELB, which is generated by Amazon AWS, or you can create a CNAME record for your custom domain. Okay, now here you can see there is response from web server 2. Now let me hard refresh this multiple times. So here you can see sometime response from 1, sometime response from 2. So why I choose a different home page for different server? Because you can see the difference between two server distribution. So as far as I request very frequent way, I have options to have response from different server. But eventually when this source code is same, and then you don't idea as an end user, you don't have idea whether the response is from web server 1 or web server 2. Now let me just this is web server 2, so let me just stop the nginx. So let me first check with web server 2. It should showing an error. Site can't be reached because port number 80 is not working anymore. Now let me browse 502 Badging. Let me check whether the instance are under unhealthy state or not. Still it's showing healthy. It took some 30 seconds and 2 times. It will before consider the instance as unhealthy, it took 30 seconds for each request and it validated for 2 times, and then it considered as a unhealthy. So here you can see one is unhealthy, one is healthy. So now I'm trying to refresh the request with hard coded. Every time it shows 1 because load balancer consider only one instance as a healthy server, so it will not redirect its request to web server 2. Now let me start this service again and wait for some moment because it took some more time before consider it healthy, because it tried to check 5 times and each time it took 30 seconds for some ideal value. So it took some more time to consider it instance as healthy state. Let me first check on the server. This has been accessible. As far as it's considered as a healthy, then and then it requests to server 2. So in general scenario, if there is a complex architecture or complex web application, then they have to use elastic load balancer to reduce the downtime issues, or we can say the crash issue, or to provide better response to the end user. They are usually use this load balancer. We can also add a target using port number HTTPS, where we have to provide SSL, or you can buy or subscribe the SSL from Amazon SSL service, as well as if you have third party you can use as well. Meantime, you can have this monitoring option. As we have created a recent way, so we don't have much data, so you can consider unhealthy state, unhealthy host, healthy host, unhealthy host, healthy host, request, target response time, HTTP 400 500 request, TLS negotiation error, target connection error 300, and but if you validate on the production instance, you have more ID. If you want to change some timings, you can edit from here, like the page has been changed, or if you reduce the health threshold value, unhealthy, healthy, then you can. Attributes, you can also change the attributes of deregistering delay, round robin, the target selection configuration, target group health requirement. Also you can define this. Now both the instances are under healthy state. So you can check now response again from web server 1 and web server 2. This is basically idea of the load balancer. So hope you guys find well, and you don't if you have such any error or any query, you can let me know under comment section, and if you also find some problem or some issues with any of the technology or anything, you can let me know that which next technology you would like to add. Our next topic will be on auto scaling, so we'll release that video very soon. Thank you very much, and kindly subscribe the channel